Riley Williams had with an angelic voice. He loved to sing but often told his mother that he would gladly trade his musical gift to be bigger, stronger, and more athletic like the other boys in his neighborhood. He felt out of place watching them play football and baseball while he had no interest in those activities. Riley often wondered if something was wrong with him, despite his mother's reassurances that God had given him the special talent of music, something the other boys couldn't do. Riley was small for his age, with smooth skin, big blue eyes, and thick, naturally curly hair that gave him a somewhat delicate appearance. When he wore his Williams robes and sang solos in the church choir, many visitors mistakenly thought he was a girl. But Riley had a new concern. After choir practice one day, he overheard the choir director talking to his mother about his beautiful soprano voice. She explained that once Riley turned 13, his voice would likely change, and his exceptional musical gift might be lost. While his training would help, she couldn't guarantee he would maintain the same vocal ability. His mother, deeply upset, asked if there was anything they could do to preserve his unique voice. The choir director, Linda Goodman, said there was nothing she knew of, except for a method called gelding, but that was no Williams or practiced. On the ride home, Riley remained silent, lost in thought. He had noticed some of his school friends were already developing deeper voices and growing body hair. Eventually, he asked his mother what gelded meant. She had always been open and honest with him, especially since his father had passed in the Vietnam War. She explained puberty, manhood, hormones, and the changes Riley could soon experience. When Riley asked if castration would guarantee his voice could be preserved, she explained it could never be undone, and she would never allow something like that to happen to his body. By the time they arrived home, they had spent a Williams time talking in the driveway. Riley was troubled at the thought of losing his soprano voice, as he didn't feel good at traditional manly activities. What would he do if his one talent was gone? A few months earlier, a representative from a major recording studio had been so impressed with Riley's voice that he had invited the church choir to record an album. Riley had several solos and was featured on the album cover. The session was scheduled for the following week, and Riley worried that his voice might change before then. His mother reassured him that she didn't think it would happen that quickly. As it turned out, his mother was right. Riley's voice remained as clear and sweet as ever for the recording. Everyone was proud when the album was released, with Riley's picture on the cover, surrounded by the choir. It didn't bother Riley that he appeared somewhat feminine in the photo, as the photographer had used light makeup, styled his hair, and dressed him in a Williams robe with a white collar. The excitement grew when the album became a bestseller. Riley did become a little concerned when some reviewers described him as the young girl with the sweet, clear voice of a nightingale. In early June, James Smith, a representative from the recording company, came to discuss the possibility of making another album, this time focused solely on Riley. Both Riley and his mother were thrilled at the idea of Riley becoming a recording star, but Mrs. Williams worried it might not last. She expressed her concerns to Mr. Smith. Riley would be turning 13 soon, and his voice would likely begin to change. James was aware of the situation and argued that they must do everything to prevent it. He suggested that Riley could earn millions as a singer if they slowed down the process of puberty with female hormones. He even gave Mrs. Williams the name of a reputable doctor who could provide treatment. If Riley agreed to hormone therapy, James was ready to offer a 5-year contract, guaranteeing $200,000 per year. Mrs. Williams, still firm in her refusal to consider castration, found the hormone treatment to be a more acceptable option. They agreed to consult with the doctor, but Mrs. Williams made it clear that no promises would be made. The following day, Riley and his mother sat in Dr. Stevens' office, listening attentively as he explained the potential benefits and side effects of the proposed hormone treatment. Both asked many questions. Riley was intrigued by the idea of not growing excessive body hair, but the thought of possibly developing small breasts made him uneasy. In the end, they decided to move forward. While the financial opportunity was important, Riley's main desire was to continue creating beautiful music. He received his first hormone injection that day, and the contract was signed that afternoon. The following week, Riley recorded his first album, which quickly became a hit. Riley made weekly visits to Dr. Stevens for hormone injections. Once the doctor was confident that Riley's body was responding well without any adverse effects, he gave him a time-delayed implant that would last for at least 6 months. Riley began noticing changes soon after receiving the implant. His skin remained smooth, his voice was still as soft and sweet as ever, and he had developed small, firm breasts. As the doctor administered the implant, Riley felt a sense of excitement, knowing that he would have several more months of maintaining the persona he desired. At that moment, he didn't realize that being a singer was not the only thing he would soon desire. After 3 successful albums, James Smith, a representative from the recording company, visited Riley and his mother with exciting news. He explained that a primetime television show wanted Riley to perform. The pay was great, and it would help sell more records, but there was one problem. Somehow, the public and the network had come to believe that Riley was a female singer. James said that altering this perception now could hurt Riley's career. He suggested that Riley appear on television as a girl, offering to cover the cost of a new wardrobe and all necessary training. Mrs. Williams initially refused, thinking it would be unfair to her son. Unbeknownst to her, Riley had already been contemplating how he might feel in more feminine clothes. Now almost 15, he had managed to hide his body changes under loose clothing, and even his mother hadn't fully noticed the changes. Riley had nearly completed puberty, but not in the way they had initially feared. To his mother's surprise, Riley said he would appear on TV as a girl. That was all James needed to hear. He quickly hired Maggie Weston, a retired model and charm school instructor, to help Riley transition into a convincing young lady. Maggie moved into the Williams' home and got to work right away. She started by having Riley remove all of his clothes, except for his shorts, so she could take his measurements. Both Maggie and Mrs. Williams were surprised by Riley's body. It seems the hormones in nature have already done most of our work. You should have been wearing a bra months ago. Maggie explained that from now on, Riley was to think of himself as a young lady, and everything he did, from speech to gestures, needed to be feminine. After taking the measurements, Maggie handed Mrs. Williams a list of items to buy and a credit card for Riley's new wardrobe. Later, after a luxurious bath, Maggie had Riley wear one of his mother's silk robes. She sat him in front of a mirror and began working on his hair. Though his hair wasn't as Williams as Maggie would have liked, it was thick and curly, and she knew with the right cut, it could look feminine. Over the next few months, she planned to make even more improvements. Riley sat quietly, entranced by the transformation. He couldn't help but admire how his hair moved when he turned his head, and he was thrilled by the changes to his brows that made his eyes look larger. He didn't even protest when Maggie pierced his ears and added pretty pearls to each lobe. She told him to leave the pearls in for a week to allow his earlobes to heal before he could wear dangling earrings, which would complement his new hairstyle. Maggie's makeup skills were astounding. By the time she finished, Riley could know Williams or see any trace of the boy he had been. Although he didn't fully understand the excitement he felt, he embraced it. It felt natural, and he surrendered to Maggie's guidance. Initially, he had worried about what his friends might think if they knew what was happening, but when he saw the new version of himself in the mirror, he didn't care. He was eager to explore femininity further and get to know the beautiful girl reflected in the glass. Riley's mother returned from shopping and placed her bags on the bed. She glanced at Riley and exclaimed, "Oh my, you look stunning. I've always wanted a daughter, and now I feel like I have one." Her reaction only fueled Riley's excitement. Maggie opened the shopping bags and laid out the new clothes on the bed. She checked Riley's body for any hair growth and found only a small amount on his legs and under his arms. She quickly shaved it off. Then, Maggie handed Riley a beautiful pair of panties and turned away as he slipped them on. They felt so much more comfortable than his old shorts, and the delicate lace edges sent a thrill through him. As Maggie helped him adjust the bra, she guided him to lean forward so that his breasts would settle properly into the cups. The fullness of the cups made his breasts more noticeable, which even surprised Riley. Next came the slip, which Maggie helped him carefully pull over his head, instructing him not to get any makeup on the white lace. Riley could hardly believe the way he felt when he saw himself in the mirror. The light blue dress with a full skirt and lace trim was so beautiful. The top had a sweetheart neckline with lace details and puff sleeves. Maggie zipped up the back, then handed Riley matching 2-inch heels and pantyhose. She showed him how to put on the hose, which he found tricky at first, but he loved the smooth feeling it gave his legs. Riley stood in front of the mirror for a Williams time, turning this way and that. He liked what he saw and thought to himself, "This is who I've been searching for. I don't care if I never see the old me again." Maggie set up her camera with a self-timer and took a photo of herself, Riley, and Riley's mother. She sent the photo to James Smith, who was thrilled with how convincingly Riley looked as a girl. He knew that this transformation would open up many more opportunities for TV appearances. Looking closely at the photo, he noticed a small tear on Riley's cheek and thought, "Poor thing, this must be difficult for him. I hope he can keep up the act for a little Williamser." Little did he know, Maggie and Riley were out shopping with his credit card, spending thousands of dollars on items that were entirely feminine. James also wasn't aware that Riley had just had her nails professionally done and loved the new look. He would later be surprised to learn that Riley's change was permanent and that she would never want to return to her former self. A year later, he would be pleased to see Riley rise to become one of the top female vocalists in the country. The tear he had seen in that first photo wasn't a sign of sadness as he had assumed, but rather one of joy, happiness, and a new beginning. If you appreciated this story and wish to show your support, don't forget to join me on Patreon for exclusive content.